Israel has deployed today its Iron Dome missile defence system in the Tel Aviv metropolitan area as tensions rise on both the Gaza border in the south and the Syria border in the north. It comes after the Israeli army said soldiers came under fire overnight near the northern border. And defence correspondent Daniel Tsemach is live for us in central Israel. Daniel, how serious does the threat need to be for the Iron Dome air defence system to be deployed over Israel's metropolitan hub?
Well, Tracy, there's absolutely a valid concern as far as the Israeli military is concerned. It's not something that happens regularly. And so to answer your question, it does have to be a serious threat. We only see this measure taken and this announcement made when there's been a serious uptick in violence. We saw it a few months ago when there was a serious escalation on the Israel-Gaza border with hundreds of rockets being launched and over 200 Israeli strikes within the Gaza Strip. So in that sense, it has to be a credible threat. And the fact that, as you mentioned, Tracy, it was volatile also on the northern border. When these two borders become tense at the same time, it further pushes Israel to take measures like this one. And as you said, this Iron Dome battery that's standing behind us, you can't see it right now, but it's in central Israel. It's in the greater Tel Aviv metropolitan area. It's not an area that you generally would see an Iron Dome battery deployed. More Iron Dome batteries have also been deployed in the south as well as in the north. And to remind our viewers, just a few days ago, earlier this week, there was an Iranian missile launch from within Syria towards northern Israel. The Iron Dome was used to intercept that missile over the Mount Hermon ski resort. So it's definitely a serious threat as far as the Israeli military is concerned.
So threats from the top to the bottom of the country. Also today, Daniel, Israel then approved the transfer of $15 million from Qatar to the Gaza Strip, of course, on Israel's south. That was delayed for more than 2 weeks following an escalation along the border with Gaza. So why now, talking about these tensions, would Israel approve that money, knowing full well about the planned protests not only in the West Bank, but that are sure to take place once again tomorrow on the Israel-Gaza border?
Yeah, well, this is where things really get interesting, Tracy, because at the end of the day, the Israeli Prime Minister and the former Defense Minister has been definitely a proponent of this, Avigdor Lieberman, of not bringing in that Qatari funding because of the resurgence of violence. But when it comes to the defense establishments, the top brass of the Israeli military, whether it be the former IDF Chief of Staff Gadi Eisenkot or other senior military officials, they acknowledge the importance of not holding the humanitarian situation against the violence. That is to say that they will not further exacerbate the crisis, the humanitarian crisis or the economic crisis or the fuel crisis you choose when it comes to the situation in Gaza, because they understand that any further tensions on that front could also affect the Israeli side. That is to say, when there's exacerbated crisis within the population in Gaza, within the Palestinian population, it can easily translate to more violence, towards rocket fire, or what we've seen more recently, to very violent protests. Last Friday, it wasn't necessarily a violent protest, but there were some 14,000 Palestinians that showed up to protest, and they stayed away from the border fence. But the week before, it was a fairly violent day. There were 13,000 there, and 2 days later, there was a rocket launched from Gaza towards Israel, and Israel responded to that. So when you see the humanitarian crisis raging on and the population angry about it, well, you're oftentimes also seeing action, whether it be rocket fire, and then you're looking at the potential for another flare-up between the two sides. So the top brass of the Israeli military understands that dynamic, and because of that, it was unanimous in the Security Cabinet to indeed allow the Qatari funding into the Gaza Strip.